Hi. I thought that I'd do a quick video for those who weren't there when I went over the project. I don't have much of a voice, so I apologize, and it probably doesn't even sound like me, but that's kind of why I'm not going to be there today. Anyhow, this is the plan, the design plan that you're going to be completing. So the idea is that you should spend a good amount of time figuring out what it is you're going to do and know like why are you going to do or put certain things into the design of your project. So this sheet is actually worth quite a bit of your mark. So you need to make sure that you take the time to do it really well and put sufficient detail. Okay, so we'll take a quick look at the rubric afterwards, but I just thought I'd highlight a few things and help explain so that when you're filling it out, you'll do a thorough job. Okay, so don't forget to put all of your team members' names up in the corner. The project idea section is just kind of a brainstorming spot, so that's where you can list different ideas that you've come up with. So, well, maybe we want to do a boat. So don't just say a boat that floats, but kind of describe what it is and what its job would be. So what are the different ideas that are kind of going through your group's minds, your members' minds. Once you've narrowed it down, that's where you're going to put your main project. So once you've got it down to what you're going to make sure that you describe it thoroughly. So again, don't just say a boat that floats. You should say a boat that it floats. It does not take on water, and it's capable of holding the cargo that's required. Okay, so make sure that when you write what it is, you should indicate clearly what it can do and what its task is. The next section is your sources. So if you look at the rubric, you should include at least 4 high-quality sources. That means not Wikipedia. Wikipedia is an okay place to start, but since it can be edited by people, it's really not a good source itself. So if you started and you got some information from there, they usually will cite who they got their information from. So instead of citing the Wikipedia site itself, look at the number and then scroll to the bottom, and that'll show you what sources they used. So go to those sources and use the better quality ones. Be careful not to use sources that claim to be good sources, but look for educational types. If you're not sure about some, then you can ask, but you want to have at least 4 really good quality sources. And then don't just write any willy-nilly site down that maybe talks about that topic briefly, but make sure that I can tell in the other descriptions that you use and when you're talking about your project that you have obviously referred to them. Okay, so it's pretty obvious in what you say that you actually used the sites. Okay. This part down here, of course it's hiding now, the design options. Basically you're just going to check which box you guys are planning to carry out. So are you just going to follow the directions for a known design? So watch the video or complete the steps as directed in a step-by-step written instruction, or are you going to go to the next level, which is use those directions but make some adjustments to make it a better design or make it function better. The highest option would be, of course, if you were designing your own from scratch. Okay, so check which one applies to your group. And that is kind of taken care of in the rubric. When we talk about creativity, that's kind of, are you using someone else's ideas? Are you using their ideas and making it stronger, like better? Or are you designing something from scratch? The back side of the sheet, at the top, you're going to list any requirements and constraints. So requirements would be it has to have this or this or this. What does it need to do? Constraints would be, for instance, it has to be within maybe a certain size, or it has to be able to withstand this kind of a situation, that sort of thing. So what are some limitations in what you can do in the design? So those are just things we want you to list so that you make sure that you're aware of them and that you incorporate them or don't incorporate them, depending on what it is in your design. Okay. The key elements part, this is really, really, really an important piece. Okay, this is where I will be able to tell if you've used some resources in order to, figure out things that will make your design better. If you're applying the concepts that we've talked about in Chapter 9. Okay, so you're supposed to list at least 4. So at least 4. Doesn't mean just 4. Doesn't mean less than 4. If you want that 4 in the rubric, you need probably more than 4. Okay, and described in detail. So an example of a key element would be, I want to include this thing, and then explaining why. So I want to include this because it lowers the average density and it allows it to float better, or it makes it more buoyant. That would tell me we included this particular thing in our design because it does this. Okay, so it's showing me that you understand the concepts we've talked about in Chapter 9 and key things that would help to make your project stronger in its task. At the bottom, you're going to include a sketch. Okay, I don't expect you to be, engineers, architects, or be able to draw like everything just perfectly to scale. But if you could sketch out what it is that you're thinking of. So don't just go with your first rough sketch. Do a few sketches. Figure out what things you might like here or there. Try and give a good idea of what it's going to be like before you do the build. And then the last part is to write down the materials that you're going to need so that we'll know. If you look at the original plan, the outline, it lists a bunch of different things, different materials that you could use. If there's anything in addition to those, you need to okay them with us first. You should also list here any tools or things like that that you might need to use so that we can check in and make sure that things are available when you come back from break. So that is the design plan. Please, again, make sure that you take time to do a good job of that. This is the rubric. So if you take a look at the rubric, remember you're aiming for a 4 in all of these. Okay, so the plan itself, which we just talked about, if you have it completed, all the stages with great detail, so you've put in enough supporting information, you've put a lot of thought into it, that should be pretty evident. Your research, so you understand the research process and you follow it with great detail, and that's easy to tell from what you've written. So you've actually, backed up the things that you're talking about and the key elements, that sort of thing. Your sources, you include several, so that means 4 or more sources that are high quality sources. And your ideas and research reflect that you actually referred to them. Okay? So not just that you're writing some sources down that have that keyword in it or whatever. Construction. So this is your product actually making what it looks like, how it does kind of thing. Okay, how it stands up to its task. So it incorporates strong design principles into its structure. It clearly demonstrates knowledge of the relevant topics that we've done in Chapter 9, so I've listed a bunch of them over here, so you can refer back to them. And it retains in its intended structure after performing the task, so that you could repeat it again. Okay, so if it's broken after the first run, well, that's not really retaining it. You wouldn't be able to repeat. So that's kind of what we're looking for a 4. Teamwork is really, really important at all aspects. So in the design process, doing the research, actually building and performing the task. Okay, so we'll be watching you. That's why we're not going to be building it at home. We're watching how you work as a team player. Okay, so some of you might be more kind of like leaders, helping to make sure that things are being delegated or getting done on time. Some of you might be helping to edit each other's stuff or give some ideas here and there. So there's different ways that you can contribute to your team. Creativity. So this is where the type of project you're going to do comes into play. So is your design unique? Have you come up with it on your own? Is it very different from others? Okay. Have you taken someone else's instructions or design and then included some unique or creative aspects to it, but maybe not come up with it all on your own? Or, it kind of goes down from there. Target task, basically, can it do what it was intended to do? Can it do its job? Okay, so if it exceeds expectations, you get 4. If it meets the requirements for the task, you get a 3, and so on down the line. Okay, so if you have any questions, don't be scared to ask. I'm not able to be with you on the first day, possibly, depending on which class you're in or if you're there, but sorry. Jot down notes. Okay, if you have any questions, if you're wondering about certain materials, that sort of thing, I can try. If you have a question you want to try and email me, you can. But otherwise, work hard at it. And I think you'll be proud of the product in the end. And hope you have some fun as we do it.